What makes a check valid? Every ANC check must include 2 signatures, one from the treasurer or chair. Pre-numbered sequential checks. Date, payee, amount, and memo stating the purpose. District of Columbia Government, an ANC name on the check face. Never make a check payable to cash. A check made payable to cash is never curable and could lead to a referral to the Office of the DC Auditor for an audit of the ANC. Here's why it matters. These elements create a verifiable audit trail. Missing any renders the check deficient. When curing is required. Here are some common errors. There are not 2 signatures on the check. There's a blank memo or unclear purpose. Wrong payee or date. Out-of-sequence check numbers. The expense is not approved at an ANC meeting and not reflected in meeting minutes as to the purpose and dollar amount. How it's found. The OANC identifies issues during quarterly financial report or bank statement review. Here's the impact it has. If a check is not cured, that amount is withheld from the next allotment. There are not any informal fixes. Once a check is issued, you cannot add signatures or change details. All corrections must go through Form 125. Why? It preserves audit integrity and documents how the error was resolved. Altering a check after issuance violates the statute. Here's information on using Form 125. When to use it. A check missing a signature or memo. Or when the OANC notifies you of a violation. Here's the purpose. Form 125 is the only way to cure a check or multiple checks at the same time and request a waiver under DC Code. Here's a key reminder. Never try to fix or re-sign a check after issue. Submit Form 125 instead. Errors in the payee, amount, or date of a check cannot be waived. In such instances, the check should be voided and replaced with a reissued check. Why it's strict? The OANC must confirm minutes, receipts, and budget authorization before approving a waiver. The DC Code only permits 1 waiver per error type per treasurer. Using a waiver on a non-permissible check wastes that opportunity and keeps funds withheld. Here's the takeaway. Cure through Form 125 only. Never edit the original check. Check curing workflow. Here's the check curing process. 1. Error gets identified. The OANC program analyst flags it from bank statements or QFRs. 2. Form prepared. The OANC program analyst completes Form 125 and emails it to the treasurer and chair. 3. Treasurer signs, no ANC vote required, mention in monthly report. 4. OANC General Counsel reviews and confirms there are no obvious signs of fraud and verifies budget approval and minutes. 5. The Executive Director approves and gives a final review and signature. 6. The DC Auditor receives and then gets the waiver file logged for public record. Here are some helpful tips. Check for other pending issues before returning the form. Combine Form 125 and attachments into a single PDF with the format on screen. Let's have a look inside Form 125. Here are the main sections. Treasurer and ANC identification. Check details and description of error. Explanation of corrective action taken. Certification that the issue was administrative, not fraudulent. Here are the signatures that are required. Treasurer and chair before submission to the OANC. Here's a tip. Ensure all attachments are complete before signing. Let's talk about waiver limits. There are curing limits you should be aware of. Each treasurer is eligible for 1 waiver per code violation. Waivers are issued only when the check violation is the sole issue preventing fund release. Repeated violations can't be waived again. Here's a tip. Before issuing a check, confirm that it is issued in consecutive order, there are 2 signatures present, and there is a description or category code in the memo field. Roles and responsibilities you should be aware of. ANC and OANC staff roles. The OANC program analyst identifies code violations and initiates the curing process. The ANC treasurer and chair review and sign Form 125 and submit any additional supporting documents. The General Counsel verifies no fraud exists, reviews compliance documents, and determines eligibility for a waiver. The Executive Director authorizes the waiver. The Office of the DC Auditor records waiver for accountability. Here's why it matters. Everyone's role ensures the ANC remains transparent and compliant. Additional nuances you should be aware of. In order for the OANC to approve a waiver request, all other documentation should be in place. That means that the OANC must receive the required supporting documents to approve the waiver. This includes the certified quarterly financial report, the bank statements and copies of canceled checks, the invoice or receipts supporting the expense, and the approved budget or signed minutes approving the expenditure. The purpose of the expense must be a permissible use of ANC funds. Here's more information on the reviewer checklist. The OANC reviews for receipt of the certified quarterly financial report, budget or expense approval, receipts and invoices that match the check. First waiver of its kind for this treasurer. Here's why it matters. The OANC approves waivers only if the check error is the sole issue preventing the release of an allotment. Here's more information on certification language. By signing Form 125, you confirm that no fraud or misuse occurred. The check was duly authorized. You have not received a waiver for this error type before. The expenditure serves a legitimate public purpose. Here's a reminder. False certification risks loss of a quarterly allotment or referral to the Office of the DC Auditor for an audit of the ANC's finances. Here are some key takeaways. Don't forget, always include 2 signatures and a description on every check. Never issue checks payable to cash. These are not curable and may lead to an audit referral. Form 125 cures code violations. Informal fixes are prohibited. There is only one waiver per treasurer per code violation. A final thought. Accuracy protects both the ANC and public trust.